Welcome back to New York 1-to-1. I'm I Think You Know, and in today's episode we'll be building two massive superblocks in Manhattan, Stuyvesant Town and Peter Cooper Village. And later in the live play we'll look at another subway line, the streetscape on First Avenue, and a quick sneak peek at a huge build for a future episode. But as always, let's first get our bearings. What is Stuy Town? What is Peter Cooper Village? And Stuy Town would be the way that most New Yorkers commonly refer to it as. But these are two massive superblocks on the east side of Manhattan from 14th Street to 23rd Street and First Avenue on the west to the FDR and the waterfront on the east. Stuyvesant Town is of course named after Peter Stuyvesant, who I believe we've spoken about in a previous episode, but was the last head of the colony when it was still New Amsterdam, and apparently had a farm in this area. While the other section, the northern part of the complex, is named after Peter Cooper, who was a 19th century industrialist and philanthropist, and who may have had one of the craziest beards I have ever seen. And what's really unique about it is that it is such a self-contained area. There are not many parts of Manhattan that look like this where the street grid is so heavily interrupted. The way that it's built though, and we built the roads out in about the first minute of this, as I've been doing in recent videos, not showing too much road building as it's not the most exciting. But not only is it bounded by major roads and avenues, but it also has this kind of ring road running through it, and then four semicircles, oval type shapes around the corners connected by a bunch of paths. Now in the game, because it requires buildings to be on roads that can be accessed by emergency services and garbage, I had to build some of those out as pedestrian roads, and then I've gone through later, you'll see, and we actually ban regular cars from being on those streets, which is a pretty common and classic technique in the game. But let's talk about what we're building now. So many buildings. Just kind of copying and pasting over and over again, although there actually are like 5 different kinds. There's like a center, an end, a left and a right, and a version with a water tower on it. But this complex was designed in the early 1940s during World War II, and originally opened up in 1947, catering mostly to veterans of the recently ended war. But what had been here previously was the Gaslight District of New York, essentially. This was an area with giant gas storage towers, and if you could imagine, those are not really nice things to live near, and this is a pretty slummy, crime-ridden area, which was popular with the various poor immigrant groups that came through New York over the decades. And the complex was really controversial from the start back then. Obviously, clearing out slums was always controversial back then, and I think in hindsight we look back on it as being even more controversial now, because so many lives were uprooted to build this area. And what's also a shame is that this area was built, and originally it was only for white people. Early on in the construction of this, they were not allowed to rent any of the apartments to African Americans. That was challenged in court and failed due to this being technically a private complex, although that was always been up for debate. And thankfully that changed many years later, but certainly not soon enough. What's also wild to me is what it cost to live here back in the day. Back in the day, rents ranged from what would today be between $600 and $1,200. And let me just tell you, you cannot get an apartment here for $600 anymore. The rents in here start around $3,000 and they go up from there. So you're basically paying 5, maybe 6 times what this would have cost back in the day, which isn't that great? Doesn't that make everyone under the age of 40 watching this feel like they might never be able to own the home they've always wanted? One thing about placing these buildings down is that they have very vanilla looking trees in all the corners. But the mod you're seeing me use here is the Bob mod, the tree improper placer. And I hadn't actually used this properly yet, and it works great. It allowed me to replace all of those vanilla trees with just the alder trees that I'm using all over this build. And then again here, layering in some parks, some basketball courts. There's also some shopping, small, low-level commercial around some of the buildings on the parts of the street that face the front. to basically serve the residents who live here, because in this complex alone is over 20,000 people. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in the live play, where I mistakenly said it was 50. It's not 50, it's around 20. But that's just crazy to me. I mean, I grew up in a decent sized town of maybe 10, 12,000 people. So to think of this small area as holding double that in the middle of Manhattan is just wild to me, and always will be. I've had the pleasure of being in this complex a few times, crashed there after some drunken nights out in the village, dated somebody that lived there briefly, and it's a really cool place, but it is a little strange because it doesn't really quite feel like you're in New York. Of course, because it's like you're almost like you're not. It's that Le Corbusier, that city in the park type feeling where you can, if you don't want to think about it, you almost don't feel like you're in New York. And I feel like that's really appealing to a lot of people, but not so much to me. But you really can't beat the location. It really is a pretty fantastic area. So fantastic that it's been sold over and over again many, many times. Particularly in the last 20 years, this complex has changed hands multiple times. The complex has been recently valued at like $5 billion, although one of the initial valuations at that rate prior to the housing crisis, the owner at the time, Tishman Speyer, actually defaulted. It was the largest mortgage default in American history. Probably still is. I can't imagine anything breaking that. But now that we've simply detailed out the Stuyvesant Town portion of this, we've moved on to the Peter Cooper Village portion, the northern portion, which interfaces really nicely with the FDR here too. But this is a little simpler, just has one kind of major road running through it and then a bunch of small paths as well. Now the buildings that I'm using for this are not the actual buildings, they're just another asset that I had, and they're a touch too tall from what they really look like in real life, but I think it's good enough. And it's funny, these buildings here hold way more people than the buildings do in the Stuyvesant Town portion of the build. And we'll look again at the numbers in the live play, but I think it's at 12 or 13,000 residents now, which is just crazy. To think that this is a build that, I think when we get to the live play, it's maybe at 70K, and we were at 50 last episode and like 25 before that or something like that. So this is a really quick way to really rapidly add population to your city. And this is actually where I used to start my previous New York City builds, in this area, for that exact reason, to pump the population up real high, real fast, to get things moving, get things flowing. I've had to do a lot of work around the area to make sure the traffic flow is okay. Playing with some, little tweaks, intersection marking tool, traffic manager, making it look nice, making it work nice. And it's a quick build, it's an easy build, not a long episode today, but I wanted to get this out because there's a sneak peek in the live play of what's going to come next, and that episode I'm a lot more excited about, but this one's really great too. So thank you for sticking around so far. We're going to finish detailing with some trees here, and then we're going to move right into the live play, so stick around for that. And we're back in the live play, where I'm going to try to get through this without having a coughing attack, because I've been dealing with whatever is going around New York. Thankfully not COVID, but been under the weather the last few days, but recording this now so we can see what's been built off camera. So as you saw during the time lapse, of course, we built all of Stuyvesant Town and Peter Cooper Village. Now, these roads down here, a few of these were built on live streams, but a couple of these were new as well that I just built for this, because I kind of wanted to show off, one busy New York corner. And I think it's really cool to see the buses coming through. We can actually take a look at this. As the bus stops, I've marked out the bus lanes. I added in all the intersection marking tool decorations too. These are my unique roads that have the bike buffer built in. And these are those new flyer buses. And yeah, I mean, this looks awesome. I'm super happy with how this came out, except for 14th Street. So I had a few people in the past in the comments talk about some of the vanilla roads that I'm using that aren't the best. And while I'm really happy with like most of the regular roads, this is the one avenue where I'm like not happy with some of the major crosstown routes using this. I particularly don't like how much the cars overlap into the bus lane where they're parked. It just doesn't make any sense. So if you know of a good road that might replace this, it's got to be 32 meters. Put it down in the comments. Maybe I'll go and check it out and give it a shot. It is really easy to replace things now in the game with that bob tool, which I showed off earlier. but I tweaked it a little bit, played with it a little bit more to actually uncover the subway that was built here. After building this Stuyvesant Town, I wanted to make sure that we had some kind of subway access. What I've done and gone ahead and done is built part of the L train. L train, quite infamous in New York for occasionally having lots of problems, but in recent years has had a lot of upgrades and fixes, and it to me is one of the best lines in the system now. But the L, and we'll back out of this view here real quick and show you, the L runs along 14th Street, actually into Brooklyn, into Williamsburg, and further along into Canarsie, but I just kind of like hacked it in for right now, and I'll obviously fix this up when we do build into Williamsburg. But this allows people along this corridor to get from Stuyvesant Town, which we just built, to 3rd Ave, to Union Square, and then west eventually to 6th and 8th Avenues. And I think using this train in combination with the M14 bus service, which we built, I believe it was built on the last live stream. Somebody had really wanted that, requested it, so we did it. But it's carrying a lot of people. You can see how many were waiting here before, how many are waiting at the stops on this side for the M14. And I really just think it looks great. Obviously the detailing here is quite simple, but I think especially using that bob tool to get all the trees in really makes a big difference. And I really just want this area to come to life, because back out again just real quick, you'll see that this entire area has about 13,000 people in it. That might still grow a little bit. I'm sure there's a few households that still haven't been taken up yet, but in real life, this complex has over 50,000 people living in it, which is wild. I'm sure a lot of you watching this live in a city that doesn't have 50,000 people in it over several square miles. And this is just like a few blocks, and it's a city in its own right. And that's what's crazy about Manhattan. Like, think about it, you can live in this building right here, and you're like so far from a subway station, you might not even feel like you're in New York. You're just in Stuyvesant Town, and you venture out into New York when you want to. And what I've also ventured out and done was built up a lot of the infrastructure around here. So to carry all the car traffic, I wanted to make sure that I extended the FDR out a little bit further. Not detailed yet, but did put in the key, did put in the on and off ramps right here, as well as the more complex interchanges around here. Some of these were built earlier, but I finally finished off a lot of the road work here around what will eventually be Waterside Plaza, which I might do a small focus on in a future episode, and then connecting it into here to 34th Street. Overall, a nice compact build. I wanted a quick episode for once, and I have a lot more in the work, because as I hopefully teased earlier in the time lapse, because I'm recording this first, is that I did a really big build off camera that's going to be in a future video, a very different video, a scripted video, and I want to give you a quick peek at it. Just a really quick peek. Oh, there it is, the northern part of Midtown. But like I said, just a quick peek. We're going to do that in a future episode, but I'm glad you're here right now. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.